Today we start with plenary session 4. There'll be a very interesting report back from the National Director's Breakout Sessions yesterday. I give the floor to the co-chairs, UNDP's Mr. Steinar Essén and UNMAS Mrs. Maria Vardis, for an introduction. Thank you. Over to you.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? Welcome and congratulations for making it to day 3. I heard the side events rooms were packed this morning. Thank you very, very much for all your energy and enthusiasm during the week. I say this as my name is Maria Vardis. I'm from UNMAS, but I opened with those lines because it's I've been working very hard with Steinar and a collection of UN GICHD colleagues to help plan and organize this meeting. So I just wanted to pay credit to the great level of energy and enthusiasm we've been seeing during the week. So thank you very much for that. Today we're coming back to what we've called the National Directors Day. Obviously the whole meeting is geared towards engaging our national authorities and counterparts and addressing their needs and concerns. But we've, as was explained, carved out certain segments that afforded time for peer-to-peer exchange and discussion about challenges, opportunities, best practices, and so on. So just as a reminder, we had breakout groups yesterday afternoon. Many of you I saw were in the rooms as observers, if not participating. And what we have today is the report back by 4 distinguished members of those groups, the rapporteurs, who will be presenting the outcomes. So just to show you a little bit the dynamism of yesterday, everyone was hard at work, and the sessions actually went to full time or even over. So congratulations on that. I'll now introduce our 4 rapporteurs. To my right, we have representing the French group, Lieutenant Colonel Djimon SAHGUI, excuse me, representing the CPADD in Benin. Next to me, from one of the English-speaking groups, is Mr. Meera Muhiadeen Nayeemudeen. How's that? Is that close? Okay, good. They gave me all tongue twisters this morning. So, and then over to my left is from the Arabic group, Mr. Khalid, Hamdan Adam, thank you. And last but not least is the other rapporteur for the other English group, Mr. Cletus Maregere. So the order for today, I'm going to pass over shortly to Steinar. We'll go through the 3 topics that were discussed in the discussion groups. They were coordination and cooperation, resource mobilization, and victim assistance. What you see is a sneak peek at the first outcomes from one discussion group. We'll go through each of the group's outcomes. We'll have a brief discussion, and then we'll move on to the next topic. Once we've completed all 3 topics, we'll then open it for a broader discussion from the floor on the entirety of what's been presented. But in between the topics, we'll also open up to the floor for comments to be made. So with that, I hand over to Steinar. Thanks.
Thank you, Maria, and good morning, everyone. Nice to see so many attending this session. This is a very important session, I must say. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of attending the English-speaking group 2, and I must say it was a very rich discussion and excellent managed by the group chair and rapporteur. So I want to congratulate the director of the Nigeria Mine Action Center sitting up there for his excellent chairing of the event. And also the rapporteurs and facilitator made that 2.5 hours very interesting indeed. And I also heard from the other groups that it was a very rich discussion, very engaged discussion. So I think that's very promising for what we will be hearing over the next hour or so. Let's dive into the first topic, and these are 3 topics that the national authorities themselves wanted to discuss. And coordination and cooperation was also discussed last year. I'm sure all of you have the memory and remember the discussion last year. But I think coordination and cooperation is first and foremost about sharing information, sharing experience. And I know that there's a lot of knowledge in this sector. I'm not going to point out anyone, but I see a number of people here with 30+ years of experience in mine action. And how do we utilize all that expertise? How do we cooperate, coordinate across border, within region, globally, across sectors? And these are some of the questions we raised to the national mine action authorities. And what you see now on the screen are some of their reflections, some of their recommendations. And why don't I just hand over to the first rapporteur from the Arab-speaking group. Doesn't matter? Yeah, Khalid, please, take it away. He's the director of the Libya Mine Action Center. Sorry.
شكرا الحضور الكريم الزملاء والزميلات السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. سعيدين بأن نكون من مقرري اجتماع المديرين لهذا الموضوع الحيوي والهام. أول موضوع هو موضوع التعاون والتنسيق. المجموعة العربية أخذت وقتا طويلا في هذا الموضوع، قد يكون قد أثر على بقية المواضيع، لكن هو مهم جدا، وأهميته تنبع أن التنسيق هو مفتاح لكل مجال من المجالات الأخرى. أولا في هذا المحور لمسنا كمجموعة عربية وجود فجوة في التنسيق والتعاون بين الدول في الإقليم العربي، وأيضا نعتمد بصورة كبيرة على مبادرات خارجية. ولذلك فإن كل البرامج تعاني في سبيل الحصول على الدعم والتمويل، خاصة في الفترة الحالية. لذلك كانت هنالك عدة اقتراحات. أول اقتراح هو إنشاء صندوق عربي مشترك لدعم خطط التأهيل والتطهير في الدول العربية. أيضا عقد اجتماعات دورية لمديري المراكز الوطنية العربية للتنسيق والتعاون. تطوير وإنشاء منصة فنية عربية موحدة لتبادل المعلومات التقنية والفنية. دراسة إنشاء مركز عربي موحد متخصص في الأعمال المتعلقة بالألغام، وكذلك البناء على الآليات القائمة الآن للتنسيق وفتح المجال لمبادرات جديدة. هذا كان ما تم نقاشه بهذا الخصوص من المجموعة العربية. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you so much for those reflections. Let's move straight on to the next breakout group, the English-speaking one group. Meera, Director of the Sri Lankan Mine Action Center, please, you have the floor.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the panel, the representative from different countries. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And in our group, actually, we discussed the matter and coordination and cooperation, and very deeply. And there are a lot of, innovative ideas came up. And I'm going to summarize, and also I'm trying to avoid whatever already said. And almost all the countries accepted, and they have some sort of a platform available at national level for coordination. And at the same time, all the countries agreed the coordination is the key, or coordination is the heart of national mine action program of every country. Anyhow, the coordination, and there are internal coordination and external coordination and donor coordination. There are different types of coordination. That coordination part has to be strengthened. Oh, and we have to formalize and establishing a national coordination platform for almost all the countries. That is the first recommendation, of course, our group and decided. And at the same time, and we discuss about the success stories of the coordination, and that is cross-border coordination, especially Tajikistan, Afghanistan cooperation, and cross-border coordination. It is one of the success story, and because of that cross-border coordination, there are a lot of facilities, and both countries received, and it is facilitated the mine action program of both countries. And also they had the exchange of visits between national mine action authorities. Therefore, this cross-border coordination for the countries and those who are having, land borders, it is very much important. Therefore, that is another recommendation. And the cross-border coordination is one of the main recommendation of our group. Apart from that, a centralized database, or centralized database we call IMSMACO, the current one is the IMSMACO. This is another element or another important factor of coordination. Because when you take a country and there are so many players, so many mine action agencies, there are international agencies, local agencies, and if every agency working in silos, and it creates a lot of issues, a lot of problems, duplications, and waste of money, and waste of time. And if every country is having a centralized database, that will facilitate all the agencies to work and very cordially, and it will save a lot of money, a lot of efforts, and it avoid duplications. And that is another recommendation of our group, that is we must have, all the countries must have a centralized database. And another one is a regulatory document, and for instance, MOU. And when there is a cross-border coordination, and it is better to have an MOU, cross-border cooperation, and national mine action strategy. That is another important factor, and our group, recommended, and it is very much important. And if all the countries agree at national level at a mine action strategy, and by consulting all the agencies, and that will be better, that will enhance the cooperation and coordination among the authorities in a country. And those are the important matters, and we discuss in our group under the topic of coordination and cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was some very concrete and very useful recommendations. Thank you so much. Let's then move straight on to the next group, the French-speaking group. Can I ask you, SAHGUI, to reflect on your group discussions? Thank you.
Merci. Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. Je voudrais tout d'abord, au nom du président du groupe francophone, dire merci à toutes les délégations francophones qui ont contribué à l'élaboration de cette proposition de recommandations. Et sur le plan de la coopération et de la coordination, le groupe francophone a reconnu les contributions importantes de la coopération dans les résultats atteints à ce jour dans le domaine de la mise en œuvre de la Convention d'Ottawa. Nous avons aussi constaté qu'il y a des initiatives qui existent et qui produisent quand même des résultats, notamment dans les domaines de la formation, de l'échange d'informations entre certains pays et de nouveaux mécanismes qui sont en train de se mettre en place tout doucement, notamment entre, par exemple, les pays de l'AES. Et toutefois, les besoins sont encore énormes donc pour atteindre un monde sans mines. C'est à ce titre que le groupe francophone a formulé les recommandations que vous voyez sur le tableau. Et notamment, il ne sert à rien de chercher à inventer de nouvelles solutions, surtout qu'on a déjà des mécanismes qui existent. Donc c'est à ce titre que nous avons formulé la première recommandation qui est de s'appuyer sur les structures existantes pour améliorer la coopération qui existe, ainsi par exemple au niveau des communautés économiques régionales. Donc quand on prend l'espace CEDEAO, donc par exemple c'est un espace qui existe sur lequel on peut s'appuyer et pouvoir renforcer la coopération entre les différents États membres. Et la deuxième recommandation qui a été formulée est d'intégrer l'action contre les mines dans les différentes politiques publiques et notamment les relations entre les États au niveau des espaces communautaires également. Et autre recommandation formulée est le renforcement de la coopération dans les formations, donc puisque nous avons dit des centres de formation qui existent, comme celui dont j'ai la charge, le centre de déminage du Bénin, et qui contribue à former beaucoup de techniciens dans le domaine du déminage, et mettre en place également les mêmes mécanismes dans le sens du partage d'informations qui est généralement la première difficulté que rencontrent beaucoup de pays, puisque ce qui se passe dans un pays voisin, si ce n'est pas connu dans le second pays, il est très difficile d'anticiper sur l'évolution de la menace qui progresse aujourd'hui d'un pays à l'autre. Et enfin, l'échange de bonnes pratiques et qui permet d'améliorer constamment la procédure dans les travaux qui sont effectués et d'atteindre de meilleurs résultats. Et enfin, adapter les approches au type de coopération que nous avons. Donc, la coopération entre deux États ne peut pas être abordée de la même façon que la coopération entre plusieurs États ou bien au sein d'un organisme communautaire. Donc, à chaque espace, il faut adapter l'approche afin d'atteindre des résultats beaucoup plus confortants. Merci.
Thank you so much. I think there was, again, a lot of very interesting ideas, and I particularly like the idea of using ECOWAS as maybe as a tool for creating coordination within your region. So thank you so much for sharing. Okay, let's then move on to our last speaker, last rapporteur. Cletus, take it away.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. A few takeaways from our discussion yesterday on coordination and cooperation. We unanimously agreed that the aspect of regional cooperation needs no further elaboration. It's an area which is long overdue, and it is high time that we need to cooperate as regions. We agreed that we already have structures in place. The sub-regional bodies that we have should be able to cascade mine awareness and mine action to the regional body all the way up to the United Nations. We need to be seen to be having mine action as part of the agenda at our regional bodies. We agreed that it is much easier to have more voice as a region than speaking as individual countries. This has got the potential to bring in funding as well as enhancing the mobilization of resources. We also agreed that joint trainings are necessary in order to enhance efficiency and effectiveness of our operations. We also agreed that there's need for us to share information on best practices, and this can be done by bilateral engagements, having meetings with our neighbors, and sharing the much needed information. It was agreed that mine action should be viewed as a human right. If it gets viewed as a human right, it will get prominence and it becomes part of the agenda of whatever discussions we'll be having at our regional bodies. And mine action as well should also be linked to sustainable development goals. We also agreed that the nature of the danger posed by our minefields does not know borders. Hence, there is need to access communities even across borders. They would never know that country A has finished clearing while it's on the other side, there is still danger. Hence, the need to access the communities. Finally, we agreed that mine action should be viewed and coordinated as a multi-sectoral activity. It covers quite a number of areas, and once we look at it from that perspective, we should be able to address the concerns. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Again, a lot of very useful reflections. Particularly, I support the need for more cross-border cooperation. Okay, with that, we open up for comments from the floor, inputs from other national directors, observers, anyone else in the room. This is your chance to reflect on what you heard. Christelle, sorry, I didn't see you. Please.
Thank you very much. I just want to follow up on your comments that mine action is a human right. Last week in Geneva, the Human Rights Council adopted a resolution by consensus on the impact of anti-personal mine on human rights. And it is a very important matter. I think that it's important for national authorities to talk with the ministries that are involved with human rights. And I mean, they're all involved. This is why you need really this interministerial approach. So, but you have this resolution as one more pillar to do, to do your advocacy. So thank you for making this point.
Thank you so much, Christelle. Any other comments from the floor? We will have a Q&A session for each topic, and then we also will have a round of Q&A at the end. So this is not your last chance to ask questions or reflect on cooperation. I'm old, my eyesight is weak. Oh, yes, please, from the Central African Republic.
Yes, thank you everyone, and congratulations to the different breakout groups for the work conducted yesterday. Maybe first a comment. In the Central African Republic, we are at an early stage, but we are going towards the creation of a national mine action strategy and authority. And something that we have reflected already internally is in the strategy and the action plan to link the different lines of efforts or targets exactly with human rights and SDGs. So I think that's something that in the strategies, action plans of the mine actions authorities in the different country, it's smart and useful to already link them very obviously with human rights and SDGs. So that's something that we are also thinking about. And then I see, and it comes back very frequently in the different panels, that information sharing should be done. But I also understand it's complex, and I just wanted to hear from the different rapporteurs what, in your understanding, hampers or what makes it complicated to exchange information between countries in the same region. Thank you.
Thank you for those very important inputs and also for the questions to the rapporteurs. I'm not sure if any of the rapporteurs want to take. Yeah, please.
شكرا على هذا السؤال. نعتقد أنه كل المقررين اتفقوا على ضرورة التنسيق، والتنسيق لا يتم إلا بتبادل معلومات بين الأطراف. كما ذكر أحد المقررين الآن، تبادل المعلومات بين الجيران يساعد في نظافة الحدود بينهما، وكذلك فإن تبادل المعلومات هو الطريق للتنسيق. لا توجد مشكلة في تبادل المعلومات، وإنما لا بد من وجود آلية لهذا التبادل. الآن بالنسبة للمراكز، كل المراكز المعلومات بتاعتها بتصل لمركز جنيف الدولي فيما يختص بكل أعمال مكافحة الألغام في البلاد. فإذا كان هنالك تنسيق بين الدول فأكيد تبادل المعلومات بيكون مفيد بين الدول في الإقليم الواحد. إذن ليس هناك مشكلة في تبادل المعلومات، لكن المشكلة في عدم وجود آلية للتنسيق لتبادل هذه المعلومات. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you so much. Any other rapporteurs want to reflect on this, or are we happy to move on? Okay. Okay.
Merci pour la question. Je pense que la difficulté majeure qui explique les difficultés que les gens éprouvent pour partager l'information est liée à la classification de l'information. Donc, quand nous prenons certains pays qui sont encore en crise, donc en fait dans lesquels la paix n'est pas encore totalement revenue, donc c'est généralement le ministère de la Défense donc, qui détient ces informations, puisque c'est les militaires sur le terrain qui arrivent à avoir les informations relatives à la problématique des mines. Et comme tout le monde le sait ici, comme on dit, la grande muette, donc l'armée ne parle pas trop. Donc ça fait que l'information est conservée au niveau du ministère de la Défense et les autres pays n'ont pas, en tout cas les autres organismes n'ont pas la facilité pour l'obtenir. Donc je crois que la première démarche à faire, c'est déjà de convaincre les autorités politiques de la nécessité de partager l'information afin de bénéficier des appuis divers venant d'autres pays qui ont été confrontés à ces mêmes difficultés, notamment en termes de bonnes pratiques et de la coopération dans la formation et les différents éléments qui permettront de vite atteindre les résultats attendus. Merci.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that is a very important reflection. Okay, I'll take the last questions before we move on to the next topic. Can I ask the director of the Nigerian Mine Action Center?
Well, thank you very much. I think mine is not a question, it's rather an additional explanation about the need for information sharing. Most of the activities of the non-state actors happen along the borderlines. And in most cases, you cannot have a successful clearance of any contaminated communities without having to do something with the neighboring countries, because usually they live around the border and they keep exchanging their location and weather view. So once you want to come together to have a joint mine action, information sharing will become very, very necessary, because if you have a joint information sharing, you will know how much contamination is by your own side and how much contamination is by the other side, which will also give a donor organization an insight on whether there is need for them to come into the intervention in the borderline operation or other view. Information sharing to us is very key, because that will summon everything around the border and help both the countries and the donor organization to come together and have a common project for a common benefit of all the communities around the border. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see more questions, but I think we will keep them to the last round. So I think we need, due to time, we need to move on. I just want to say that coordination, I'm glad to hear from the national authorities that you are keen to do more coordination, regional coordination, cross-border coordination. Cross-border coordination should be the easiest, because hopefully that's going to be free, cheap at least. Regional coordination might be a bit more challenging, setting up a regional mine action center or regional coordination mechanism. Who's going to lead? What's the mandate? It's a bit more demanding from you. But thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the advice. Let's move to the next. Yeah, but we will take those comments at the end, sir. Okay. Let's move on, Maria, for the next topic.
Thank you very much. And I appreciate the director from Nigeria. I think your comment also was a very good segue to this segment on resource mobilization. So thank you for enabling that. Again, resource mobilization was a topic that came up last year. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that it's still something that's very prominent in in people's minds and a concern. So these discussions basically followed, it's a question of securing adequate and sustainable funding. It's about finding the right architecture, feeding in to make the most out of efforts in order to generate that sustainable funding. It's about advocacy. It's about data, especially again referring back to the director from Nigeria. And it's about what can be done individual and institutional and even a larger framework than that. So you have some conclusions there. And maybe we start with the French group, please.
Merci, Madame. Sur le point de la mobilisation des ressources, je crois que c'est un sujet qui a intéressé l'ensemble des participants donc, et qui a suscité beaucoup de débats. Parce que les ressources, c'est la condition sine qua non pour atteindre les résultats attendus, donc à savoir la mise en œuvre complète de la Convention d'Ottawa. Donc les ressources, donc le constat qui a été fait par le groupe francophone, c'est qu'au fil des années, les ressources s'amenuisent, donc il y a de moins en moins de financement à l'endroit des différents programmes. Il y a des programmes qui sont proches de la fin de leur activité, mais en raison de l'insuffisance des ressources, ces programmes traînent encore. Et le groupe aussi a remarqué qu'il était nécessaire de continuer à présenter des résultats positifs, donc, notamment par exemple des pays qui arrivent à terminer leur programme. Et ça pourrait être une motivation supplémentaire pour les bailleurs et les différentes structures qui pourraient soutenir le déminage. Donc, c'est à ce titre que nous avons formulé les 4 recommandations que vous voyez. Donc, la première qui est de mobiliser les agences de développement dans le financement du déminage. Cette recommandation est venue du fait que la plupart des programmes sont soutenus par des financements issus des programmes, des dossiers qui gèrent les crises dans le monde. Or, ces programmes ont moins de ressources que les agences de développement. Donc, si les différents programmes peuvent réussir à mobiliser les ressources venant des agences de développement, je crois qu'il y aurait une relance des activités de déminage à travers les différents programmes. La deuxième recommandation est d'initier un partenariat public-privé, donc en vue de la valorisation des terres agricoles, industries et autres. Donc cette recommandation nous est venue d'un cap concret, donc notamment par exemple en Mauritanie, où le gouvernement a réussi à impliquer le secteur public dans les activités de déminage. Donc la zone dans laquelle la structure opère, elle a l'obligation d'assurer les activités de déminage dans cette zone-là. Donc là, c'est très important. Si on peut mobiliser des ressources venant du secteur privé, ça pourrait relancer les activités de déminage. Et ensuite, amener les États à inscrire le déminage au rang des priorités nationales. Et la plupart des pays qui sont confrontés à la problématique des mines estiment qu'il y a d'autres secteurs prioritaires donc, qui sont généralement négligés. Et si, par les plaidoyers, on peut réussir à réinscrire le déminage dans les priorités de chaque État, donc les gouvernements affectés pourraient contribuer au financement de cette activité. Et enfin, quand les donateurs pourvoient à des financements pour des déminages, si à l'issue, il n'y a pas une bonne gouvernance de ces fonds, il n'y a pas de la transparence dans la mise en œuvre de ces financements, je crois qu'ils ne seront plus là la prochaine fois. Donc c'est pour ça que nous avons recommandé à ce que la bonne gouvernance soit assurée et que la transparence soit la main courante qui permettra aux différents financements de pouvoir soutenir les différentes activités de déminage. Merci.
Merci bien. I think you've raised quite a few very pertinent issues. What I meant to say in the beginning was also that there's a potential for the approach under resource mobilization to be very innovative. I think you drew out some good examples of how that could be explored further. And then also, as we've seen over the preceding days, Mine Action is not just a response under a crisis or strictly in a humanitarian sphere, but it's something that has an enabling quality, and targeting and advocacy with other sources to fund mine action responses in that manner are also relevant. So thank you very much. Now we'll turn to the director from Zimbabwe, please, for your groups.
Thank you very much. In light of decreasing donor funds, resource mobilization becomes a really critical area. We agreed as a group that in order for us to be able to mobilize funds, mine action should be part of the development plan. If that happens, then mine action will be able to then get funding from respective governments. I think it's time that in as much as we look outward, we also have to look inwards. What is it that philanthropists in your country can do towards mine action? What is it that certain big companies that are operating in your country could do as part of social responsibility to fund mine action before we look outside? We also discussed that mine action, as alluded to earlier, should be part of the Sustainable Development Goals. And that way it will be able to get funding from respective governments. We already have existing memorandum of understanding between different countries. These have to be pursued, as some of these memorandum of understandings have got clauses to do with mine action support. We got a very typical example from my brother from Nigeria. And they also need to look at the military cooperation that exists between countries, some of which also entails assistance and cooperation in areas of mine awareness. We agreed that it is important to have measurable and quantifiable usage of resources. It is easier to approach a donor when you are able to tell him that if you give me so much dollars, I will be able to clear an area which is so much big. Or if you give me so much dollars, I will be able to do mine awareness to so many people. You give me so much dollars, I will be able to train so many people. It becomes measurable, and this is what donors are looking for. Obviously, before you can mobilize resources and channel them towards priority areas, there is need for each and every mining authority to have a strategy which spells out what is it that exactly you want to do. Hence, you will be able to get even financial support from the budget. We agreed that there's need for advocacy in mine action at every level. If you are not visible, then people won't support you. Visibility entails that you are able to influence even policymakers to craft policies that will address the concerns that you have in mine action. Visibility entails that you are able to reach donors so they know what you are doing. Finally, we agreed that there's need for us to share the success stories that we have and have periodic donor engagements. The different donors that we have in the country, depending on what your strategy entails, most countries have quarterly meetings with their donors, and also considering taking those donors to the ground to see exactly where they've put their money and what is it that you have achieved with their money. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I think you've brought out some good points in terms of, we always say mine action is a very concrete area of work, but in terms of resource mobilization, we need to show it. It needs to be measurable. It needs to give visibility. So, it's also interesting, the internal look that you outlined, and looking for new partners in order to proceed and succeed. So we'll turn now to the colleague from Sri Lanka for that group. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know now the resources are very much limited. And in other way, in other side of the story, and of course, and now the priorities are changing in the world. And due to turbulent situation in the world, at the same time, the donors also having different priorities. And therefore, for mine action, the funds are day by day it is decreasing, and priorities are changing. There are a lot of challenges. While expansion of EO, contaminated area, it is increasing. Therefore, it is a very challenging situation in the mine action, field when it comes to resource mobilization. And this is thoroughly discussed in our group, and therefore we are recommending certain, recommendations. And first of all, setting national priorities to use efficiently available and limited resources. That is one of the key. Because we know that the resources are limited. And with the limited resources, how we are going to prioritize our mine action activities. And therefore, we have to find out urgent, important activities out of our bigger list or out of our long list. That is important. And if the priorities are set, of course, and we have to utilize and according to the, we have to utilize and economically, efficiently, whatever the resources available. In order to do that, of course, and we had to win the confidence of the donors. And how we are going to do that? For that, we should have a transparent reporting system, right? And my colleague, of course, and he explained about it, and also in our group also we discussed, and we had to show the donors their taxpayers' money, how it works in the field. Therefore, we can invite the donors to the field. They can come, they can visit, they can, discuss the matter with directly with the beneficiaries. And therefore, the transparent reporting system is the key in order to win the confidence of the donors. And of course, and as we earlier discussed, IMSMACO is one of the important factor and important, tool to win the confidence of the donors. And apart from that, in a long run, and can every country depend on the donors? So what is a sustainable mechanism in order to tackle the long-term, the problem of this mine action? For that, of course, and our group and we recommend national ownership and strengthening national capacities. That is the key. And that is a sustainable mechanism. And at the same time, not only depending on the national budget of every country, and also we can explore the possibilities of getting innovative financing, innovative funding, because already some of our colleagues can discuss, and how we are going to get the partnership of private sector, right? Whether it is going to be a PPP and public-private partnership mode, or any other funding arrangements. And that is going to be a sustainable mechanism in the long run. Therefore, and our committee recommends, and even all the countries, and to explore the possibilities of and getting the funds from the private sector of their countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think what you portrayed actually helped to ground us, making reference to current realities and limited funding, being very practical in the steps, but also this looking towards sustainability and offering, some proposals in that respect. So thank you very much. I think presentations so far have complemented each other very well. But now I'll turn to the General Director from Sudan, please.
شكرا جزيلا. نحن كمجموعة عربية مغرين تماما بالتكلفة العالية لأعمال مكافحة الألغام، وفي نفس الوقت مغرين بقلة الموارد المتاحة لتنفيذ أعمال مكافحة الألغام في كافة الدول. لذلك كان من أول توصياتنا والتي ذكرت في التنسيق والتعاون هي إنشاء صندوق عربي لتمويل أعمال مكافحة الألغام. هذا الصندوق ينظم وينسق عملية تمويل مكافحة الألغام في الدول، مع نقاشنا في عدد من المواضيع المهمة بإيجاد مصادر تمويل إضافي تغذي هذا الصندوق، سواء كان من الدول أو من بعض الجهات الأخرى. كذلك أوصينا بإشراك جامعة الدول العربية في تنسيق جهود تعبئة الموارد. جامعة الدول العربية هي الجهة أو الكيان اللي بيجمع الدول العربية، لذلك لا بد أن تكون من أولوياتها إضافة للأعمال السياسية الأعمال الإنسانية الخاصة بمكافحة الألغام في الدول المتضررة. إضافة لذلك لا بد من الاستفادة من القطاع الخاص العربي مثل منظمة الأوبك والمؤسسات الاقتصادية الكبرى لتعبئة الموارد وتمويل هذا الصندوق. إضافة لذلك لا بد من الاستفادة أو بناء الشراكات مع البنوك والمؤسسات المالية العربية مثل البنك الإسلامي العربي. كل هذه قد تساعد في حشد الموارد لتمويل الصندوق العربي، وبالتالي تكون هنالك موارد كافية ومنظمة لتنسيق وتمويل أعمال مكافحة الألغام في الدول المتضررة. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you so much. Shukran. I mean, I think diversification of funding sources, very good advice, and adding another element of innovation to approaches. So, as we did before, we'll take a few minutes and take some statements and questions from all of you before we move on to the third topic. I'm having my eyesight tested. Ooh, there we go. I think we have we have Mafi at the top in the middle, and then we'll go to you, sir.
Thanks very much, Maria, and congratulations to everyone involved. I'm speaking on behalf of Symbio Impact, but also MAFI, the Mine Action Finance Initiative. Congratulations on all that you've done. Over the last 3 years, we've been driving innovative finance work, working across the sector, and co-authored the GICHD report that featured at yesterday's Mine Action Support Group, also with Ukraine on a feasibility study for various pieces of work exploring how capital markets, and particularly public-private partnerships, can lead to funding. So the themes that are coming from the rapporteurs resonate very much with our view on how things should move forward. So I think the first reflection I have really is that the rapporteurs have reflected not just the excellent discussions that the national directors have had, but those close themes of cooperation, collaboration, and innovation that I think have characterized this entire NDM. So congratulations again. And I think that's in spite of the need for the sector growing, as we've heard from the rapporteurs, an uncertainty over its resourcing that we've heard as well. I think the director from Nigeria's comment on information sharing is absolutely vital, as was Cletus's comment on making sure that we can quantify return on investment of any sort from government donors or the private sector. I think the initiative that the rapporteur from the Arabic group has brought forward on an Arab fund that could complement existing funding is exactly the sort of innovation that our sector can benefit from. And the way he's articulated it, linking to the finance institutions and the region's economies. It is inspiration for everybody. The French group's comments on the private sector, including PPPs, are another clear direction that our sector must move in, and in many cases is already moving in. He highlighted agricultural and tourism, but there's also options extensively in renewable energy. So to wrap up, I think we should all take inspiration that innovative finance has been a theme in the room. We heard Ambassador Privitelli at the very start highlight it very, very articulately and well in the opening. It's also been in the margins. So our view, Camille and I from Simbayo and Mafi, are very much of the view that the level of maturity in discussions means that this does need a home within the sector. It needs to be a dynamic part of the sector's future. And we need to move concretely from the concepts of innovative finance as words to facilities that can leverage front-loading, credit, impact investing, the private sector elements that colleagues on the stage have said, and you have our full support in doing that so that we can serve everybody that our community exists to serve, and as Christelle put so eloquently earlier, reminding us all that our work is a fundamental human rights issue. So thank you very much indeed.
Thanks. That was a great summary. And thank you very much for that. And we have two comments here. Sir from Nigeria, can I ask you to wait and we go to the gentleman who's been patient from the first round? Thank you. I can't read that far. Oh, State of Palestine. Thank you.
تحياتي للجميع وشكرا على هذا النقاش. أنا بس يعني سؤال للمجموعة العربية، إنه كل احترام لإنشاء صندوق للمجموعة العربية لدعم الأعمال المتعلقة بالألغام في الدول العربية وأيضا خارج الدول العربية دعمها. لكن أنا بدي أحكي عن تجربتي. أنا رئيس مركز فلسطين من 10 سنوات. الأعمال المتعلقة بالألغام فلسطين لم نتلقى أي دعم من أي مجموعة عربية لإزالة حقول الألغام في الضفة الغربية. هناك في الضفة الغربية 16 حقل ألغام و66 حقل ألغام في منطقة الأغوار مع المملكة الأردنية الهاشمية. بالضفة الغربية نتيجة الدعم الدولي فقط تم وبالتعاون مع منظمة هالو تراست تم إزالة 16 حقل ألغام كان موجودات داخل المدن والقرى الفلسطينية، وقد كان يعني زي سرطان مستشري في الأرض الفلسطينية الآن. وكانت هذه حقول الألغام مناطق عسكرية مغلقة من 50 سنة ممنوع البناء فيها ولا الزراعة فيها. الحمد لله تم 16 حقل الألغام تم إزالتها وتطهيرها ورجاع الأراضي إلى أصحابها الحقيقيين. إحنا يعني بخصوص الصندوق العربي إنه يكون هناك في إجراءات وليس الطرح فقط، يعني انه نكون هناك احنا تشكل لجنه من الدول العربيه ويترأسها البرنامج العربي، يترأسها اللي اي شخص بيمثلنا، وتكون هناك في دراسه جدوى لدعم هذا الموضوع، لانه بصراحه لا يوجد اهتمام عربي في هذا الموضوع، وانما هو فقط اهتمام دولي. وشكرا لكم.
Thank you very much. And since you directed it to our colleague, we'll pass it on.
شكرا على هذه المداخلة. نعلم أن فلسطين لم تتلقى أي دعم من المجموعة العربية، وكذلك نحن في السودان دولة عربية لم نتلقى أي دعم من الجامعة العربية. لكن في نفس الوقت كل الأفكار بدأت بحلم في منصات صغيرة مثل هذه المنصة، بدأت بأفكار وثم تطورت حتى أصبحت واقعا. فلا بد أن نبدأ في وضع البذرة لتعاون عربي في كافة المجالات. من هنا ننطلق وإن شاء الله في القريب العاجل يكون عندنا صندوق عربي لدعم الأعمال المتعلقة بالألغام. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you. Thank you. Now we'll turn to colleague from Nigeria. Thanks for being patient.
Thank you once again. I just want to use this opportunity to add my words on the outcome of the breakout groups yesterday. We strongly believe that the resources outside will never be sustainable. And that is why we insisted of having a mechanism that will promote or attract resources from within the country. Once every donor has its own time, has its own period to fund you, the resources from inside is the one that will sustain your activities in mine action. And that is why we recommend that the mine action resource mobilization must be seen as multi-sectoral resource mobilization. We don't just concentrate on mine action relative organizations to look for resources. We can also look for resources from other sectors in education, in nutrition, in water and sanitation, in everywhere, because mine action has to be seen as multi-sectoral approach, which requires multi-sectoral approach to the resource mobilization. Thank you.
Thank you. All very, very important points. Take this off. I don't see any other speakers. Anybody? Oh, yes, please, from Burundi.
Bonjour et merci beaucoup de m'accorder la parole. Nous parlons de déminage dans les pays qui souffrent des mines sur le territoire national. Personnellement, dès le début, je n'ai pas entendu parler qu'avant de procéder au déminage, il faut d'abord penser à arrêter les guerres. Parce que dans un pays où il y a encore de la guerre, les mines continuent à intervenir sur tout le territoire où la guerre intervient. À l'exemple de notre pays, le Burundi, c'est un pays de l'Afrique centrale d'une superficie de 27 834 km². Le pays a souffert d'une guerre interne, de conflits internes. Mais cette guerre est terminée, mais il y avait beaucoup de mines sur le territoire national. Après, à l'arrêt de la guerre, on a procédé à une formation d'une équipe de déminage. Cette équipe a été formée par MAG International, la France, la Belgique. Après le nettoyage des mines sur tout le territoire national, pour le moment, on peut procéder à l'agriculture, à l'élevage, au tourisme. Le pays est en paix. Mais jusqu'à présent, après le déminage, les victimes des mines ne sont pas en mesure d'autosuffire pour leur autodéveloppement. L'assistance des victimes, c'est une préoccupation principale parce que les moyens de l'État ne sont pas suffisants pour assister ces victimes, pour qu'ils puissent participer à leur autosuffisance socio-économique et pour participer aux activités auxquelles ils pouvaient faire avant. Donc, nous avons des victimes, nous avons des ayants droit, nous avons des communautés touchées, mais le pays encore pense à sa reconstruction et à son développement. Nous avons une vision Burundi, pays émergent et pays en 2040 et pays développé en 2060. Pour arriver à cette vision, il faut que la communauté soit en paix. Il faut que la communauté soit capable de participer aux activités économiques. Mais nous avons plus de 600 victimes des mines antipersonnelles, sans parler de leurs ayants droit et des communautés touchées. Donc, c'est une expérience vécue dans notre petit pays, mais qui est actuellement en paix, malgré que les moyens financiers sont insuffisants pour pouvoir faire le développement envisagé. Donc, pour les autres pays, que ce soit de l'Afrique ou des autres continents, pensez d'abord à la paix. Quand on pense à la paix, le déminage est facile. Les pays peuvent s'organiser. Il y a la coordination, il y a la coopération, il y a la mobilisation des ressources. Aucun pays ne peut ne pas intervenir pour soutenir un pays qui veut nettoyer les mines sur son territoire et pour recourir au développement. Et ce sera la paix mondiale. C'est ce que je peux dire pour vous parler un peu de l'expérience de notre pays. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Madame. I think another way to ground us, actually, and thank you for bringing up the example from Burundi. It's also a very good segue to the next segment. We will talk about victim assistance, but just to recognize that under resource mobilization, we didn't talk about particular areas of mine action that are underfunded, but it's important to note and to recognize that victim assistance and its long-term implications and investment that needs to be made, it's chronically underfunded. So thank you for raising that and giving your perspective. Unless the rapporteurs have any responses they want to give, we'll pass it on and we'll cover the next topic. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Last topic of the day, victim assistance. And I must say, I find it interesting that the national directors of all the things that we can discuss, all the important part of mine action, victim assistance was one of the 3 core topics that you wanted to discuss. It is clearly the least funded pillar of mine action. And many would argue that victim assistance isn't really the responsibility of a national mine action center. It should be the ultimate responsibility of the Ministry of Health. And maybe that's why it is a topic that we need to discuss, because it is a bit unclear actually what should we be doing, what should you be doing when it comes to victim assistance. So I'm very eager to hear the discussions yesterday on victim assistance. What are you doing? What are your recommendations as we move forward? So let me just hand over the word to the French group. SAHGUI, can you take it away?
Merci. L'assistance aux victimes. Donc, c'est un point qui a également suscité beaucoup de débats dans le groupe francophone, parce que l'assistance aux victimes est considérée comme l'enfant pauvre de la Convention d'Ottawa, puisque les ressources sont assez limitées dans ce domaine, et parce que l'assistance aux victimes est considérée comme la responsabilité exclusive de l'État. Donc, l'État n'ayant pas assez de moyens ou ayant d'autres priorités, a souvent des difficultés à apporter l'assistance nécessaire aux victimes des mines, que ce soit les victimes directes ou les victimes indirectes. C'est à ce titre que le groupe francophone, après les débats, a recommandé les points que vous voyez également. Donc, puisque en lien avec la mobilisation des ressources ou la coopération, donc vous voyez ici que pour avoir une certaine crédibilité et pour pouvoir bénéficier de l'assistance des donateurs ou des bonnes volontés, il faut avoir une base de données crédible et désagrégée qui permet de pouvoir rendre compte, en cas de besoin, de l'investissement ou de l'utilisation qui est faite des ressources mises à disposition dans le cadre de l'assistance aux victimes. Donc c'est pour ça que nous avons dit qu'il faut effectivement consolider la base de données et en spécifiant les besoins spécifiques de chaque victime afin de permettre, par exemple, à la coopération de pouvoir appuyer telle ou telle victime. Parce qu'il est impossible à chaque État qui ait des victimes sur son territoire de pouvoir satisfaire tous les besoins. Donc, si je prends par exemple les prothèses, s'il y a déjà un État qui en fabrique dans le cadre de la coopération, l'autre pays pourrait en bénéficier. Et la deuxième recommandation est celle relative à la Convention sur les droits des personnes vivant avec un handicap. Donc, c'est pour ça que nous avons invité les États qui ne l'ont pas encore fait de ratifier cette convention et de l'appliquer. Donc, puisque le tout n'est pas de ratifier, mais il faut également mettre en œuvre les dispositions de la convention qui intègrent déjà une bonne partie de l'assistance aux victimes. Et les points qui ne sont pas pris en compte par cette convention pourraient être des points spécifiques que l'État pourrait développer dans un autre cadre. Et c'est à ce titre que nous avons dit au point 3, donc il faut inciter les États à renforcer leur coopération, leur capacité plutôt de prise en charge des soins d'urgence, puisque la Convention relative aux droits des personnes vivant avec un handicap ne prend pas en compte cet aspect-là. Donc il revient à chaque État de développer cette capacité et de pouvoir intervenir dès qu'une victime est déclarée sur un champ de mine. Et enfin, nous avons constaté que dans beaucoup de missions de soutien à la paix, et le volet déminage n'est pas toujours pris en compte, même si le UNMAS est déployé au sein de la mission, le déminage n'est pas inscrit comme cela se devait. Donc c'est pour ça qu'il faut qu'un plaidoyer soit fait auprès des Nations Unies pour la prise en charge de l'assistance aux victimes dans les résolutions relatives aux opérations de soutien à la paix. Je vous remercie.
Thank you so much. I'm very conscious about the time, and I know people are preparing for their side event at 11, so that leaves us with less than 15 minutes to wrap up. So I have to ask the rapporteurs to be sharp and crisp on their comments. Can I ask the director from CMAC for your intervention, please?
Thank you very much. We believe that the assistance that is given to victims is dependent on how a country values its citizenship. During our discussion, it came out clear that mine victims as well as explosive ordnance victims are not treated separately from other victims. We also felt that it was important to define what a victim is and avoid looking at with shorter lenses. What really is a victim? Is it the person that has been injured? What happens in the case that the person who has been injured is the breadwinner of the family? Does he become the only victim, or the family also becomes part of those that have been affected? I think these are areas that we need to interrogate. We felt that there was need for peer-to-peer sharing of experiences so that we could also get the best practices that are being practiced elsewhere and use them across the board. There is need to identify peculiarities of the individuals. These individuals have got different peculiarities, and those that have to be captured. There is need for victim rehabilitation, some of which goes beyond emergency medical treatment. Here we are looking at aspects of the psychological support that has to be given to the victims. Victims have to be involved in planning and decision making. Hence the saying, nothing for us without us. We need to involve these victims as we make policies and as we implement them. They need to be empowered either by skills training so that they become self-reliant in life. Then there's also need to have a victim support legal framework. For example, in the case of Zimbabwe, there is a legal framework which entails that when it comes to recruitment, maybe 5% of those that have to be recruited must be people with disabilities. That kind of an arrangement makes sure that victims are not excluded when it comes to life support. Finally, placing mines is a political thing, while removing mines is ethical. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I just want to echo the advice to employ mine survivors. I think is a very important suggestion. Thank you so much. Let's pass on to the Arab-speaking group, please.
شكرا. نحن في المجموعة العربية أفرزنا حيز كامل للنقاش حول مساعدة الضحايا، كان أول النقاش عن تعريف الصحيح للضحية، رغم وجود التعريف في من قبل مركز جنيف الدولي، ولكن لازلنا نبحث عن تعريف صحيح للضحية، لأن هذا يتعلق بما تم تقديمه للضحايا من مساعدات من المراكز الوطنية. إضافة لذلك فإن تقديم الدعم للضحية هو مسؤولية المراكز الوطنية في بعض الدول، وذلك يكون مرهق جدا للمراكز الوطنية. لا بد أن تتولى الجهات والمؤسسات الحكومية الوطنية تقديم خدمة شاملة للضحايا في الدول. أيضا توصيتنا الثانية كانت عن ضرورة وضع نظام وطني لتحديد وتصنيف المستفيدين من برامج مساعدة الضحايا في كل دولة من الدول. شكرا جزيلا.
Thank you so much, and we will move straight over to the last speaker.
Thank you for this opportunity. And of course, most of the recommendation in our group that is already, said, therefore I don't want to repeat it again. But anyhow, in our group, and we almost all the countries realize and victims are discriminated, because always preference is given to land clearance and not for victim assistance. And therefore there is a great discrimination to almost all the victim assistance. That is the first point we agreed. And apart from that, when it comes to the challenges, for the main challenges what we are having is an incomplete historic data of victims, and also differentiating victims, EO victims, EO survivors from person with disability. That is another important factor, another challenge, of course, almost all the countries are facing. And we have to have a long-term plan for victim assistance. Almost all the countries must prepare. And at the same time, the countries must strengthen national and local level coordination, because most of the victims, they live in villages and also the towns, and the local coordination is very much important. And also, in order to formulate policies at national level, even the national level coordination is very much important. Therefore, it is almost all the countries, we agreed, almost all the countries must strengthen local level coordination, at the same time national level coordination. In order to tackle this victim assistance, there should be a top to bottom, bottom to top approach. And other one is development of national victim assistance plan. This is the key. This is the key, and without a proper victim assistance plan, and of course the countries cannot assist the victims in a correct way. Therefore, we agreed that almost all the countries must develop a national victim assistance plan. And apart from that, and one of the innovative idea and came up in our group, that is supporting survival-led initiatives, because the victims and survivors, and they know better than us and their needs and their aspirations, and therefore the countries must support survival-led initiatives in order to satisfy the victims. And those are the recommendations, of course, in our group. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all the four rapporteurs. lot of very concrete advice. Again, conscious of time, I will open for a couple of questions before we close this session. Anyone want to reflect on victim assistance or any of the other topics we have discussed? I don't see any hands, so with that, I think I will just say it. Oh, well, they're up on the top. Sorry, sir.
Thank you, Steinar. Just in reference to your first question when you started the session, in relation to where the responsibilities of mine action centers in relation to victim assistance implementation. It looks that a lot of the national mine action centers' roles and responsibility would be mostly around coordination, developing policies and plans, raising awareness within other ministries, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Social Affairs, given the complexities of victim assistance, it is parts of different ministries' mandate. It's a shared responsibility. And I think the UNMAS 1310 provides a good clarity on that respect. But as for the definition of victim assistance as it was defined some 26 years ago, it has remained the same. And I think we would just need to build on the progress made at the national level. If you see it purely from a mine action lens, perhaps you do not see a lot of progress in victim assistance. But if you see it through development, health, social protection, human rights, there are developments, and there are developments made every year. You could see it, especially if you look at the state's report submitted on the implementation of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. As you would see also in the Siem Reap Anchor Action Plan, there is a great emphasis on integration of victim assistance into broader national development policies and programs. It looks that would be the right approach. It's also in line with the overall other disarmament conventions victim assistance provisions. So that notion of integrated approaches looks like these states are embracing it quite well. It would be just a matter of the keeping that national dialogue, national discussions around victim assistance with the support of the national mine action centers going. You would not, perhaps there's a lot of different milestones in victim assistance. It would not be similar like mine action, mine clearance, or stockpile destruction. But if you really go into a depth of victim assistance, you do see progress. It doesn't mean there's not challenges. It's definitely underfunded. But I think there's a lot more opportunities that can be seized. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I think we will end with that, and then just conclude by saying this is the second year we've had this dedicated breakout sessions and reporting back sessions. I really feel and hope that you found it inspiring, useful. At least we did. I think we had some good discussion, presentations. The challenge, of course, is how do we take these ideas forward? We will internally, of course, discuss it. A normal response would be to ask GICHD to lead. But I think I want to challenge the national mine action authorities themselves. You are ultimately responsible. I think you have got a lot of good ideas here, and I really want to see that you take the ownership on many of these topics. I hope we don't have to discuss the same topics next year. I would like to come back next year and hear what you have actually done to improve coordination, resource mobilization, victim assistance. And maybe very concretely, I will challenge the chair from Nigeria and a colleague from Zimbabwe. They had a very fruitful partnership yesterday why don't you pick up the phone, call each other, and explore how the two of you can work together, because I'm sure it's going to be a very fruitful partnership. So maybe I want to close by saying that, thanking again the chairs, the rapporteurs, the facilitator for a fantastic job. Thank you all for sitting in. I'm very sorry for your lack of a break before I know you're going to run into the side events. So again, thank you for coming. Have a good day, and see you next time, next year, same place. Thanks so much.